Awesome. All right, welcome everyone. So where we're going to pick up is on page XXVIII. And we're right in the middle of the doctor's opinion. And what we were speaking about last week was the physical allergy. And just to talk about it, there we go. Just to talk about it a little bit. The idea of the physical allergy, that is the part of my illness that happens once I put a mind-altering substance into my body or engage in an addictive behavior, whatever brings you to this study. So what happens to me is I take that substance and it sets off something inside of me that tells me I need more. And the more that I drink and use, the more that I need to have that next drink or that next hit or that next high or that next piece of validation or that place that next bet. You know what I'm saying? The more I engage in it, the more I need that next one. So it's that idea that once I start, I cannot stop, and I do not know when or how I will be able to stop. So that kicks us off, that frothy emotional appeal. So XXVIII, frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices. And so froth is like if you got a cappuccino or a latte, the froth is what I hope that's accurate, is foam. I'm not sure how a cappuccino is made, but I'm 90% sure it's got foam in it. So froth is foam or sea foam. Like if you live near the ocean, that must be lovely, a time or two, you'll see that sea foam, and that foam is froth. To have a froth is to have no weight, no depth, no substance, when you're a kid and you're blowing bubbles in the bath, like froth, or in your mid-30s and blowing bubbles in the bath, froth. and so an emotional appeal, that is an appeal to emotion. As we've been going through the doctor's opinion, what we've been seeing is these appeals to authority, appeals to experience. Dr. Silkworth is saying, like, here, I am a guy that has been an expert in this field. And so appeal is appeal to emotions, trying to pull on our heartstrings. And when it so seldom suffices, that means it does not work. So frothy emotional appeal does not work. But what does that look like in practical experience? What does frothy emotional appeal look like? It looks like if you loved me, you'd quit drinking. It looks like, how could you keep doing this to us? How could you keep doing this to our kids? How could you do, like, how could you be so stupid, selfish, inconsiderate? That is so frothy emotional appeal. And here's the thing about it seldom sufficing. I'm not a sociopath. I'm actually too far the other way. I'm like, oh, I hope I don't offend anyone if I have to remove a Zoom bomber. I'm like, oh no, like I am too far the other way. I'm codependent as all heck, so that's my problem. But I'm not a sociopath. And what I mean by that is I want frothy emotional appeal to work. I want it to work. You know what I'm saying? I want it to work, and it doesn't work. And I point that out because that is the power of this illness. It seldom suffices. It does not work. So the message which can interest and hold these alcoholic people must have depth and weight. And what is a message of depth and weight? Well, it's I've been there. I drank the way that you drank. I felt the way that you felt. I've gone through what you've gone through. I've experienced those experiences, and I have found a way out. I'm not there anymore. That is a message of depth and weight. And it says in nearly all cases, their ideals must be grounded. So I've got to be rooted and grounded in a power greater than myself if I am to recreate my life. So their ideals must be grounded in a power greater than themselves as they are to recreate their lives. My solution is a spiritual awakening, and I need a new way of life. The 12 steps are the actions that give me that new way of life and get me connected with that power greater than myself. You know what I'm saying? So, and that, man, that is a message of depth and weight, because when I'm living on that plane, I'm being a demonstration. You know what I'm saying? Not just telling you what to do. I'm going to be a demonstration, perhaps a miraculous one. You know who's a miraculous demonstration? Thierry, over to you. Pew, pew, pew.
Pew, pew. Thanks, Paige. Um, there's a statement in here that I like to turn into a question, and I challenge and recommend all you to try it out. And it says, if they are to recreate their lives, and put a question mark after that and ask yourself, have I tried to recreate my life? And did it work? On my own, no. It just never worked. Here's another one. Who would like to be 4 years old again? Not a care in the world, living from moment to moment, lollipop, ooh, TV, ooh, toys, ooh, bubbles, ooh. Who would like to be 4 years old again? I do. Who wants to be 20 again? That'll be fun. This is all a process of recreation. We are recreating our lives through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's actually through a series of steps and actions that bring us to this power that's always been there. It's always been present. It's what the steps do. They activate it. It's an activation process. It enables you to find this power which is deep down within you when you start to recreate your life. I'm not this my uh, old life by no means was a bad one. It was a lot of fun, but my new life are two different things. I've recreated my life from the scratch. And it felt like looking at a mountaintop, looking, oh my God, this is going to be so difficult to do. But day by day, hour by hour, sometimes, even minute by minute, with the help of a sponsor, with the help of a home group, with the help of a commitment to go to that damn home group, because I'm handcuffed now. I'm in the game now. All of a sudden, I start to change. I start to recreate my life, right? And then it says that message, which could interest and hold us, alcoholic, drug addict, gambling, whatever it is, must have depth and weight. I mean, I could be at a podium or be a speaker or whatever it is, or have a 2 minute share or a 5 minute share or whatever it is. And I could shout the solution all damn day. God, 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 God. But why on earth does anyone want what I have if we don't share the same problem? All right. I highly recommend and highly encourage every single one of you, when you do share, share with both depth and weight. Think about your personal experience when you first came in, you know? I mean, when I heard the first speaker I heard, he said, I grew up in institutions. Boom. So did I. He held me. He had this pull with me. He locked me in because I could listen to the fantasy and the story in my head and not listen to anything you say while you're up there. But if someone says something about their personal experience in their past, which can have interest in, it will hold me, it will pull me, and then it'll knock me over with this solution like, damn, this person is not the same person who they used to be, who was just like me as of today. I said this before, we're storytellers. Keep telling your story. You never know who you're going to help. Right. And here's another repeat from the doctor. This is a doctor talking. He said their ideals must be grounded in a power greater than themselves. That's bold. That's super bold on a doctor to mention that. And I mean, obviously, he didn't put his name in the original right page, and it was put on after his death, I believe. Right? I think we went over that. I'm not too keen on the history. That's why I got Paige. She's my pew 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 girl. My shake and bake girl. She shakes you, and then I come in and I bake you guys. But think about that. This is also another repeat of what he said in the previous page. What he said, they believe in themselves and still more in a power, higher power, God, whatever you want to call it, that pulls chronic alcoholics back from the gates of insane. It's a repeat. I said this before, I'll say it again. Good repeaters, good writers don't repeat themselves. He's going to continuously repeat himself over and over again, right? And also, good writers don't capitalize words in the middle of sentences. He's going to do it again. Notice this trend. He's saying in a nutshell that we doctors don't know what to do with you guys. But we have observed a lot of alcoholics and addicts in this rehab or institution that he worked at, and their ideals are grounded in a power greater than themselves, and they are recreating their lives in front of us. That's amazing. That's something you can't explain. I mean, think about it. Like for prior to AA, what were they doing to alcoholics, Paige? They were tying them down to a bed, right? And then sending them off. And then like, damn, we don't want to help these people. They're heartbreaker. Who's a heartbreaker? I was a heartbreaker. I broke hearts over and over and over again. And then I found someone who had this depth and weight, who had pulled to me. And he pulled me in and offered me a solution. I took it and off to the races. It took me. Today I could tell you my life, centerpiece of my life, that is God is. That was not me 6 years ago. Yeah. The centerpiece of my life was me. That was it. And now the centerpiece of my life is God, and my relationship is contingent with God, is contingent upon having a relationship with you. If I'm good with you, I'm building and trusting this power that's within me, which constantly recreates my life. And because I'm helping you, I'm being inspired. When I'm reading, I mean, complacency is a whoever has long-term sobriety or consistent sobriety, complacency is a mother effer, man. It really, really is, right? But when I'm sitting down with another addict or another alcoholic, and I'm having laughs, like belly laughs, about, like drinking, being the best drunk driver in the world, right? Or suiting up in a suit and tie and smoking crack like a gentleman, like, or I could go on and on. Paige was saying, what was it? The smoking crack behind the dumpster. We're laughing and having a good time about this, and they're pulling me in with this depth, and they're giving me this weight that I want. I want this way of life, and when that process starts, my life starts to recreate itself, And I only look back at my life and it really makes sense. In the moment, I'm just kind of like, woo, I'm on a roller coaster ride. But when I look back at it, my ideals are firmly grounded in the power greater than myself. Yeah. Pew, 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 back over to you, Paige.
Pew. And if for a moment you were wondering what I was doing in the background, I just want to explain that. I was calling Nick, so he's listening in on my phone. That's my level. I'm like, I'm not leaving anyone behind, so I'm
Hi,
definitely
Nick.
a sociopath. Oh, and actually, I'll share screen here in a bit. When I do that, I'll turn the video on so you can see too. All right, so it says, if any feel that as psychiatrists directing a hospital for alcoholics, we appear somewhat sentimental, let them stand with us a while on the firing line. See the tragedies, the despairing wives, the little children. Let the solving of these problems become a part of their daily work and even of their sleeping moments. And the most cynical will not wonder that we have accepted and encouraged this movement. And for years, I would read this and I'd be like, oh, Silky, because we're on a first name. I know that's an abbreviated last name, but we're on a first name basis. Uh, we call up Silky, and like, dude, you're getting a little defensive. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, buddy, you can almost feel he's like preparing for the argument. Like, okay. Because keep in mind, Dr. Silkworth is going out on a bit of a limb. This idea of alcoholism being an illness was not widely accepted. It referenced an article, so there were a couple articles in medical journals that said, yeah, but this wasn't widely accepted by the medical fraternity. This wasn't accepted by the psychologists or psychiatrists. So he's going out a bit on a limb. And one of the things that I also want to like point out about that is we can almost feel that, like, yeah, that defensiveness. But and then but also with that, like that he's then gonna say, he's then sorry, I'm just gonna remove that person. Sorry, there's a
I
lot
could, I
happening.
could, I could
You
do
got it. You got
the,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I could boot him out.
Listen, I already have an issue with my attention, and so I've decided to give myself more distractions on purpose for everyone's chagrin. So so he's also going out, so he's this doctor that's going out on a limb saying that alcoholism is an illness. That's not widely accepted. He's going out on a second limb. That branch is getting thinner. You know
Yep.
what I mean? With the idea that the answer for that is spirituality. And Dr. Silkworth, I would read this a long time. Is this doctor getting like defensive? Like, okay, you know what? You think you know what's you do my job. You do my job. You think I'm airy fairy. You think I'm blowing bubbles and traipsing through the tulips. You do my job. You stand on this firing line. And a really cool thing is that when we get to working with others, we get to be on that very same firing line, but we get to be safe and protected on that firing line, the freedom to go anywhere. But he's saying, you stand with me on this firing line. You do my job. You see the horrors of alcoholism ravish families, whether they drink or not. You see the horrors of alcoholism ruin lives, just destroy lives beyond comprehension. You do my job. And I think there is an element of that. Like, I kind of do think, okay, my first assessment wasn't wrong. That, like, he probably was getting a little prepared for the arguments, but it was when I was working with somebody, because isn't that when we have new experiences, when we're helping each other? You know what I'm saying? I was working with a sponsee, and it came to mind one day, when he talks about, and even of their sleeping moments. Never in my life would I have expected that I would keep a doctor or a therapist or a counselor or psychiatrist or psychologist up at night with my illness. And it's so funny. I often don't talk about some of the places where alcoholism took me or drug addiction took me, because oftentimes we use that to separate each other. But when I get to this part of the book, I like to share about it. And when I ended up homeless, living on the streets of Calgary. That does not make me an alcoholic, but I do say that does point to me not being a very good roommate. Don't want to live with me. But I was homeless and I was living on the streets of Calgary, and I would live under, and again, does not make me an alcoholic and does not make me a worse alcoholic than anyone here. But I was living under this bridge underpass, and it was a pedestrian underpass. And people would come by, and I would often panhandle for money, like a lady, pinkies up. And I remember this one morning, I was sitting in the sun trying to warm up because my life had gone exactly how it needed to. And there was a gal who came by, and she said to me, and she didn't know my name, but she was like, "Oh, it's so good to see you. I was so worried about you. I had not seen you in a while." And as an 18-year-old girl, and 18-year-old girls, good things do not happen to 18-year-old girls living on the streets. You know what I mean? And she had that, like, "I was so worried about you. There's not nice things going on in downtown." And I, you know what I mean? It's like, I do not know the ripple effects that my alcoholism can have. And I reflect on that idea. If the world was to write my 8-step list, how different it might be, you know? I don't know the ripple effects of my alcoholism, but by that same token, I do not know the ripple effect of my sobriety. And I do not know who gets to be helped by my sobriety. And I have this other story that just pairs along nicely with it. And this was just a couple of years ago. My home group has a speaker meeting downtown, and it was a sponsee of mine that was speaking. And so I had gotten a ride, and we were going to go to the speaker meeting. And I see this gentleman, and he is, well, I'm sure none of us remember this, but when you're drinking so much, when you pass out, and you pass out like fall like timber, you timber backwards. I could tell that's what had happened to this guy. And we go over, and he wasn't like fully unconscious, but I couldn't get him responsive. You know what I mean? He was breathing, but he wasn't responsive, and we ended up calling an ambulance. And because that's what you do, and a bunch of fire trucks come, and they're like, "We got him, don't worry." It's like, okay. And then off we go to the speaker, and as we come out, I see he had the suitcase. I see his suitcase was still there. I'm like, "They left his suitcase? Oh, that's not cool." No, they left him. He was still there. And I was like, "Oh no." And so we go, but he was more responsive. And so we start talking to him, seeing what we can do to help him. Long story short, for that, we ended up getting him essentially an Uber to the camp that he was staying at. And if he had wanted to go, we ended up getting him a ride to detox. And so what happened is we were talking, and I was saying like, hey, my name is Paige, and he's like, yeah, I know you from the AA meetings. You know, it's like we truly do not know the impact that our sobriety can have. And so it's that idea that, like, yeah, the world might write a completely different 8-step list, but I also don't know how my 12-step, how far reaching my 12-step work can be. And I will go over to you, Terry. Pew, pew.
Yeah, I just had a thought about everyone in my life who is who was in my blast radius. I don't know that I have a blast radius around me. When you look at your conduct and you ask yourself, was it selfish or not? When it's selfish, yeah, it is because I'm involved, right? So, there's some type of harm or mistake that I've done around you because I'm making decisions based on self. So, I was just got a thought about what my list would be, and it would probably be an infinite list. Um, I mean, that's the beauty about our 8-step list. It's not a one and done kind of thing. It shrinks, it grows, it shrinks, it grows. It's a way of life, and you take these steps and you integrate it as a way of life, not just with action, but as a way of life. Everything. You start to change and be recreated, like I said before. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what else other people have to say about me. That's a good question. When I've approached people who I don't know how if I harmed them or not. And I was a general manager of a health club in multiple areas, multiple gyms in New York, and I went back to these gyms and to a couple people who I did make amends to. And one person in particular, I didn't know if I harmed them or not, and I asked them, like, hey, is there anything I've done in the past where I've harmed you or made a mistake or stepped on your toes? Where I was a knucklehead with you? You don't have to be like, buy a script or anything like that. Just go and ask them. And then this individual said, no, you were good, everything's okay. But try that out. If you don't know, ask. Where was I being a knucklehead, right? Uh, yeah, and I think this yet again a lot of humility in this paragraph as well. He's saying we feel in many years of experience that we have found nothing. There's another repeat. We talked about this in the previous page. We have found nothing which has contributed more to the rehab of these men and women than the altruistic movement now growing among them. What humility in that? The little doctor who loved drunks. That's what they like to call him. What humility, right? And I like what Paige was talking about earlier. Like I a lot of I guess there was a stigma that it was our character, right? There's something wrong with us, that we were bad people. We're not bad people. We were sick people doing bad things, and here's the cool thing is that we get well here by being in an altruistic movement. And altruism is all about you and helping you and no longer about me. And what humility, I don't know. I just find it amazing how this doctor would say, like, look, I've been on this firing line watching people die. And who's been part of tragedies in their life? A close one who has died because of alcoholism or drug addiction or any addiction. Anyone just raise your random hand, like, yeah, this is real. This stuff is real. And if you are given an opportunity to taste the honey or taste the milk or be rocking into the fourth dimension, you now have a responsibility to go to these places that are called the firing lines. Oh no, I'm just gonna, raise my hand at a meeting and hope someone asks if they want me to be their sponsor. No, go and approach these individuals, go to detoxes, go to the rehabs, go to jails and institutions, go to the places where people are hurting. You never know, man. There's some I don't know if this is an actual fact, but I think it probably is, that someone in the world and I don't know how many billions of people are in the world, but there's a lot, is suffering like we used to and can't stop going in and out of detox, back and forth, and at a moment in their life, either in sobriety or not, and they want to put a bullet in their head. They don't want to live anymore. Imagine if you were just like, yeah, I just want to watch the Yankee game tonight. You know, I'm not a Yankee fan. I'm a Met fan. You know, but hey, yeah, the Yankees are on tonight. But damn it, I have that damn commitment at that jail and institution. What you gonna do? Are you gonna listen to what your what is it called, desires within, or your selfishness within, and go support your Yankees, or go to that detox where someone wants to put a bullet in their head because someone did that for you? Someone approached you. You know, what's the most precious thing we could give to anyone, Paige? It's our time. You know, Paige ain't getting paid. You know, she's not getting paid for this right now. She does a ton of service, like ton of service, right? You know, thank God for Paige, and you're helping me with the service part of my triangle as well, because I only have two commitments, this one and Fridays, or this one and Saturday, my home group. You know, you're keeping me in the game. You know, and is information that someone like Paige has transferred over to someone like me, and I have an opportunity and a responsibility to give it away for fun and for free. So, yeah, pew pew pew. Back over to you. Let's talk about some fun paragraphs here.
Oh, heck yeah, pew pew. And yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to dive into the cycle. This is what I call the cycle of alcoholism. And I'm going to break it down. I'm going to share the screen and then I'll turn the camera on and we'll do that. But yeah, he's got the sticker. And it was just one of those things. Now, Paul knows what's up. So Paul's at this convention with Howard and Kathy in Ireland. And it sounds like they're having a great time. Haven't tried the candy corn yet. But one of the things that Paul has is Paul has a bunch of the stickers that I have made of the cycle. And I was talking about this with Paul before the meeting, where it's one of the most helpful things is if you can identify a newcomer, go up and at an in-person meeting. This doesn't work. Well, you reach out to them on Zoom for sure. But at an in-person meeting, I can go up to them. I can hand them a copy of this cycle sticker and I can say, hey, do you have one of these yet? And I can then talk to them about alcoholism, ask them if they're new. You know, like Terry's talking, like, let's go out. I don't want to wait for them to come to me. I want to go find them. We go out to our fellows. We're going to go find these people because they don't know what they need. Yeah. Oh, they don't know what they need. Hold on. Boop and boop. Rock and roll. The ADHD is real bad when we have Zoom bombers because I'm a little like, oh, that's a one, and then I just get all over the place. So it's all good.
Sorry about
All right.
that. I let him in. I have
No,
a
no,
spot.
I honestly I would let them in too. Don't you
Yeah,
worry.
I have
And
a sponsee named Santi, so I thought it was him. I
oh
guess
yeah,
not.
no, don't
Yeah,
worry about it. And like
yeah.
we got it set up so it was just saying like to be quiet, which was actually fair enough because I do talk a lot. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to share the screen and we're going to dive into this paragraph. Oh, and the point of that whole tangent, the purpose of that was if you would like some physical copies of the sticker that Terry showed you in his book of this cycle that we're going to break down and we're going to explain, you let me know. Send me a message and I will mail you some because that's what they're for. And I will make sure I throw a digital copy of this in the chat later. I will also throw it in the two WhatsApp chats. I'll put it some places so anyone's who's interested can get it. Alrighty, so it says bottom paragraph XXVIII. This is the cycle of alcoholism, or all-inclusive study, cycle of addiction. It says men and women drink. And feel free to cross out men and women and write alcoholics. Cross out men and women, write addicts. Cross out men and women and write compulsive overeaters. Write codependent. Like write whatever brings you to this study. Write that. Because we are not talking about your average person. We're not talking about regular people. Oh, I forgot to put the camera on for you. Hold on. Switch. We are talking about, what we are talking about is, perfect. I got to do that. What we're talking about is alcoholics, drug addicts. We are talking about people who are affected by this and who are absolutely, utterly hopeless. That's what we're talking about. I think I did this wrong. I think I'm supposed to do it like that. All right, so it says men and women drink. So alcoholics drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. Now, the effect that is produced by alcohol, oh, actually, I could just share the picture to you. The effect that is produced by alcohol is this ease and comfort. We're going to talk about this a lot more here in a bit. But what I am after as an alcoholic is I am after, you know what I mean? I'm after peace. I'm after relief. I'm after release. That is what I am after. Ease and comfort. So I like, and I'll be honest with you guys, as an alcoholic, as a drug addict, as definitely a codependent, I am a relief-seeking missile. Do you know what I mean? I am after relief like nothing else. That is what I'm after. And that is not an effect that non-alcoholics get from alcohol. They might get a little bubbly. The bubbles is the theme of the day. They might get a little bubbly, or they might get a little loose, but they're not after that. That experience. That is not what they just do not, they just do not experience that. So it says the sensation is so elusive that while they admit it is injurious, they cannot after time differentiate the true from the false. And so what are we talking about there? What we're talking about is the mental obsession. And the mental obsession is right here. And so you can write in your book, and if you're writing in your book, I hear that's what all the cool kids do, is they write in their book. You can make a little note with that line right there, that is the mental obsession. And when we talk about unable to differentiate the true from the false, what that means is what is true for me as an alcoholic, or when it says the sensation is so elusive, what we're talking about is that feeling, that relief, that release, that ease, that comfort. It's just so just out of grasp, you know? To be elusive is to be like, I just can't hang on to it, you know? That feeling is so, I can't hold on to it. It's just out of grasp. That while I admit it is injurious, to admit that it is injurious is to admit that alcohol is hurting me, that alcohol is ruining my life, that alcohol is destroying my family, is to admit to you that I can't do it again, and I know I can't do it again. But I am unable to differentiate the true from the false. What is true? Is that for me as an alcoholic, when I take a drink, it sets off this phenomenon of craving, and I need more. And the more that I drink, the more I need to drink, and I can't control the amount that I take. I take a drink, and it takes me, and it demands a second, and that second insists on four. Fourth drink will not relent until I've had 8. And that doesn't happen every single time. Early in my drinking career, although pretty much almost every time, but early on in our drinking careers, sometimes we catch a break. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is every time I take a drink, I do not know what's truly going to happen. And more often than not, I take that drink takes me, and off I go, and I burn it to the ground. And that is the truth. That is the truth. But I can't see the truth. What is the lie? The lie is this time will be different. Nobody will ever know. I'm just going to go out for 3 drinks. You know, I'm in Ireland. There's no alcoholics in Ireland. I am not. I'm in Canada. It's very cold. It looks like I've done so well for 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years. It'll be different this time. So here's how. It looks like my problem was I can't drink like a lady, but I can smoke crack like a lady. You know what I mean? It looks like I'm going to kill myself anyway, so why don't I get drunk? It looks like F this, F you, F that, right? It looks like the thought is on me all day. Take a drink, take a drink, take a drink, take a drink until it wears me down. But it also looks like a case of the suddenlies. And that happens when I'm as sober as I am today, but my illness is untreated. I've not treated my illness, and I have this mental obsession that takes me back again and again and again to that first drink, despite knowing it'll ruin my life. And it says, to them, their alcoholic life seems the only normal one. I did not know what was wrong with me. I did not know what it meant to be an alcoholic. I did not know why I couldn't stay sober. I didn't know why I couldn't stop. I did not know. To them, their alcoholic life seems the only normal one. They are restless, irritable, discontented. And you can make a little note if you're writing in your book, because I'm going to peer pressure you. All the cool kids are doing it. Look at you, you cool kids. But restless, irritable, discontent, you can write the spiritual malady, because that is what we were talking about. And the spiritual malady is how I feel when I'm sober. It is not diagnostic of alcoholism. It is not diagnostic of addiction. It is not diagnostic of whatever brings you to this study. But it is helpful to know that when I got sober, I got worse. When I tried to put down the drink, when I tried to put down the drug, man, I was not okay. It's restless, irritable, discontented. And that is the doctor writing that. So that's the doctor with a clipboard that's going a little like, the patient appears to be a little restless, irritable, discontent, that's what's going on there. What's the reality? Well, I don't know for you, but for me, it's a screaming coming from the depth of my soul that nothing can quench. It's an emptiness and a loneliness. It is my skin doesn't fit. It's like I'm a raw exposed nerve ending. And for some ungodly reason, the wind is blowing. I'm depressed, I'm hopeless, I'm suicidal, I'm so anxious, I can't sit still. That is what it looks like sober. And I want to talk about this just a little bit. So not diagnostic of alcoholism. You'll find people who are spiritually sick. You'll find them in line at the grocery store. You'll find them in the highway. You'll find them. I make the joke about an HOA or a PTA. You'll find them there. So what makes me an alcoholic is my physical allergy and my mental obsession. But what we are treating in 12-step is the spiritual malady. I'm treating that spiritual malady. That's what I'm going to treat. And the thing about that is there's this beautiful metaphor that I heard is the idea that as alcoholics or as drug addicts or whatever brings you here today, that we are like spiritual canaries in the mine. And if you know, back in the day in the 1800s, 1700s, probably even earlier than that, when when the men would be down in the mines and they would be mining for coal and various other minerals, what they would do is they would bring with them a couple of canaries in a cage, and the canaries would tweet and tweet and make all these noise. But you see, the birds, just a fun fact about birds. Terry's like, oh goodness, she would try to sneak in a fun fact about birds. I had a magpie that landed on my head today. It was so exciting. Focus, focus. But a fun fact about birds is they are incredibly sensitive to gases. And so they were an early warning sign that something was wrong. And so they would stop tweeting, unfortunately, because the gas had killed them. And it would be a sign to get out of the mine now. And I think as alcoholics, as drug addicts, we're a little like the canaries in the mine. We are people that, like, yeah, we're just a little extra sensitive to that sense of separateness. You know what I'm saying? Did my screen share go away? No, we're good. I think we're good. Sorry, there's a lot happening. So that we're just sensitive to that conscious sense of separateness from God, because that's what the spiritual malady is. It's a sense of separation from God. And I didn't know that, and I didn't like that, and I didn't want that to be me, and I didn't think it applied. But yeah, that's what we're talking about. So it says so what it goes on to say, they're restless, irritable, discontented, unless they can again experience the sense of ease and comfort, which comes at once by taking a few drinks. That's what I'm after. I'm after that ease and comfort. And it says drinks which they see others taking with impunity. That's those normal jerks that'll like, here is what it looks like to drink with impunity. It looks like, honey, sweetie, I'm gonna go to the bar or the pub. I'm gonna have 3 drinks and I'll be home by 9. And do you know what they do? They go to the bar and they have 3 drinks and they're home by 9 and their pants are dry. They got both their shoes and they're with the person they're supposed to be with, you know? Wild. It does nothing to them. It does nothing for them. And it says after they have succumbed to the desire again. So we take that first drink and we can write first drink. As so many do, the phenomenon of craving develops, and that is our physical allergy. So once I start, I need more. And the more that I drink, the more that I need to drink, or the more that I use. You know, it's like I start drinking and I get thirsty. You know what I'm saying? And it says they pass through the well-known stages of a spree. Whee! Which sounds way more fun than it is, because it doesn't end well. But a spree is essentially any length of time that I'm drinking, any length of time that I'm using. It can be years, it can be months, it can be weeks, it can be days, or it can be a single afternoon. But at some point, the spree comes to an end. And it says emerging remorseful. So coming to filled with guilt and shame and remorse, and that idea that I am just the biggest piece of garbage that ever lived. I hate myself. You know what I'm saying? That I'm filled with that. And that fuels, that emerging remorseful fuels me to have this firm resolution not to drink again. And that's, man, that is, you, how often, this is like, if we want to laser beam what is wrong with me as an alcoholic, how many times have in my life have I ever said, I'm never going to do that again? Doesn't matter if it was at 3 a.m. in the spiritual prayer position where we were praying to the porcelain gods. We all know that one. Didn't have prayer then, or weren't afraid of prayer then, you know, make it stop. But how often have I said that is it? I'm never going to do it again. And for people like us, that has no effect. It has no effect, no capacity to keep me sober. My desire to stay sober, my want to stay sober, my need to stay sober has no effect. And it goes on to say that this is repeated over and over. And I'm going to ad lib and over and over and over and over and over and over. It is a cycle, and this is why we like draw it out like this so that I can see. And what I want to do is I want to come up with examples from my own life of this cycle. A time where I've said I'm never going to do it again, because that's usually something we can remember. Getting out of the hospital, getting out of the drunk tank, going to rehab, going to AA, CA, DAA, going to whatever 12-step fellowship. You know, we can usually remember a time where we said, I'm never going to do it again. And then what happened? What happened? What was the thought that I had that this time will be different? Nobody will ever know. And if I was going into a 12-step fellowship, when we look at that spiritual malady, we can have a look at what was I not doing? Because a relapse is inevitable if I have this illness. We see it. It's a cycle. I will relapse. So what did not happen? And that's what I want to really look at. So this is repeated over and over, and unless this person can experience an entire psychic change, and you can write spiritual awakening, spiritual experience, that is our solution in 12-step. Our solution is a spiritual awakening, a spiritual experience. There is very little hope of his recovery. I am hopeless unless I have this spiritual awakening. Hopeless. And the word psychic, I am fun at parties, and I'm either in my cup, so I'm pissing on your carpet, or I'm sober and I'm bringing out the etymology. Why don't I get invited out? I can't figure it out. But the psychic, its origin is Greek, and psychic means of mind and of soul. And so we think, listen, we all think we can change our mind about things. I'll say, yeah, I'll just get that. But I know in my soul, I can't change my soul on my own power. That's what I need. I need a change of my mind and my soul. And it makes sense because I need to treat my spiritual malady. And when that is treated, the mental obsession is gone. I have spoken for quite a lot, so it's over to Terry. Pew pew.
Yeah, pew pew. That was great. Um, yeah, I'm thinking that I was under the impression that the big book validated my experience. I mean, I had it backwards. It was actually my experience validates the big book. And I'm looking at this big book as a mirror right now. And you could actually change it into the first person and read in the first person, and it talks to you personally. And like, did I drink or get high because I love? I like to change like to love. I love the effect produced by alcohol. Who loved it? I loved it. We're looking at a love affair right now. As I said it before, I keep saying this. I said this before. I said this before. That's what we're looking at. Like, what did I have a love affair with? What did I have a high school crush with? No, what was my heartbreak, right? What did I sell my soul to? Am I an addict? Am I alcoholic? Am I a gambling addict? Am I codependent? Or am I neither of those things? Or am I all those things? Which one am I? And you could use these paragraphs to help validate the big book, right? And I love the effect, and the sensation is so elusive, right? I chase that baby, right? Ooh, 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 I want it. I want you, and I'll do whatever it takes to get you, right? And I admit that's a statement. I admit it's an interest. Do you guys admit that when you were drinking or drugging or whatever you had a love affair with, did you admit that it was interest? Admit means to let in, the 1930s definitely, right? Paige, to let in, they give you an admission ticket, right? We're what we're learning right now is that we learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we are blah 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 or blank blank blank, that we're real alcoholics, real addicts, or this is all a book of looking at myself in the mirror. Do I admit that crack cocaine was injurious to me? Yeah, well, right. But over time, I can't differentiate the true from the false. I was given this question by someone very early in recovery. I think maybe I had like 2 or 3 days. He asked me, what did I expect when I first drank? And I was like, what is that witchcraft question? What did I expect? Look at your experience. What did you expect when you first got high? Like, I don't know, but that's all I knew for 20 years afterwards, right? I mean, I drank in the morning, I drank at night, I drank during the day, I drank at work because I could drink at work. I drank when I woke up. I got high when I woke up. I got high when I was sad. I got high when I was depressed. I got high when I was happy. I got high in funerals. I got high at weddings. I got drunk. It was a centerpiece of my life. So, what happens when you take the love of my life or the centerpiece of my life away from me? The next sentence says it. I'm restless, irritable, and I'm discontent. So I have this abnormal reaction to alcohol or to cocaine or to opiates or to sleeping pills. Those are my big four that I narrowed down when I was reading this, right? So I don't have the codependent gene. Oops. So I have this abnormal reaction to alcohol. When I drink, I want more, right? I have that phenomenal craving. However, when I'm sober, I have an abnormal reaction to abstinence. I have an abnormal reaction to sobriety, right? Doctor says restless, irritable, discontent. Dude, those are some kind words. I like how you said it. Restless, irritable, discontent. Right? Look at your life. I mean, think about you being restless all the time. I'm like, I'm squirrel, man. Discontent, I'm never happy, right? I mean, think about when the love of your life isn't the centerpiece of your life is not with you anymore. And then it says we can again experience this sense of ease and comfort, a sense. It's not actually feeling it, it's just a sense. I mean, who got a sense of ease and comfort by just being on the liquor line? Like, I did, you know. Who got a sense of ease, like, like you talked about it when you take the drink, like, damn, I love that. But who got the sense of ease and comfort when I stole Paul's wallet and helped Paul look for it and found out that Paul didn't realize that it was me who took it, and now I'm on my way to the liquor store and I have a sense of ease and comfort because I got away with it and I'm about to go get the love of my life back in my life, right? And so I have this abnormal reaction to alcohol and this abnormal reaction to sobriety when I'm restless, irritable, and discontent. And because of this internal condition, Paige talked about spiritual malady. I really think it is a separate, I feel separate from this power. I feel I'm not in unionship with God. I'm separate from God. I'm not a part of, right? Chuck C would say it. I'm not a part of, I'm apart from you and from God. I feel disconnected, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to go back to the love of my life. And because of that, I feel like ripping my skin off. I feel like poking my eyes out. I'm going to have an insane thought come into my mind. Sober, stone cold sober. No matter how many rehabs I went to, no matter how many detoxes I went to, know how much pain, humiliation, was it incomprehensible demoralization? I've been saying that lately. Even all that stuff, all that crap I don't even hear it. Because the singular thought, which is an irrational thought, just crowds out all other thoughts. Because the spiritual malady, yes, everybody has it. But what separates us from normal people is it will drive me to a drink. It will drive me back to the love of my life. It will drive me to a solution where my wife won't go get smashed because she had a bad day or someone did their chore at sober living. Right? Whoever lived in sober living had a resentment to it. I did, right? It won't drive me back to an insane idea. Or it won't drive them back to an insane idea that, yeah, this is going to kill me, but I still do it anyway, right? And when I succumb to that, I take that drink, right? I take the drink, the phenomenon of craving kicks in, and I'm off to the races. Bob D would say it's like it's like being kicked to death by the cutest, littlest, fluffiest bunny rabbits. I mean, that's what he said. It really is, right, Sue? Think about it. Like they're so cute, right? Little bunny rabbits. Let's say baby bunny rabbits. I've never said this before. Baby bunny rabbits. They're super cute, right? And they're kicking you like they're. Oh my god, what are you doing? Stop doing that. You just kind of give them a little push, right? But then later on at night, you're sleeping and they're still kicking you. Oh, that Paige got the bunny rabbit, right? You're sleeping and they're still kicking you. Then you wake up for breakfast and you're having your coffee or Paul tea because you're in England. You're having your tea and they're still kicking you, right? And then later on, you go to work. I'm sorry, you're driving to work and they're still kicking you. You're at actual work for 8 hours, they're still kicking you. After you get off of work, you're driving home, they're still kicking you. Then you hit dinner and they're still kicking you. And then 20 years later, every single moment or every single second, they're still kicking you and you're bleeding from every damn hole in your body, dying an alcoholic death. That's the deal. It's being stuck in this trap. And the doctor says this, it says it's repeated over and over. Those bunny rabbits, those cute little fluffy damn bubby, they kicking you over and over and over again. And the only solution, which she showed the diagram of the circle, but there's a little veer off, right? Right where you can throw it in there if you can. There's a little veer off that it says that I forgot what it says exactly. I have it in my book. What's wrong with me? I got the sticker planted in my book. Followed a few simple rules and which produced an entire psychic change. And Paige talked about it. Psychic comes from the word psyche, which comes from the word soul. I'm having soul surgery done on me while I take these actions and while I take these steps, right? And think about that. This is a doctor saying it. And he's being really, really, really careful on not to say spiritual experience. Right? He says moral psychology later on. This is pretty radical stuff back then. You don't want to be shunned, right? But it's an entire spiritual experience. What is a spiritual experience? The first thing I thought when I was new, when I came in, I thought it was a burning bush. I thought it was a white light. I thought it was, J Money on the cross helping me out. None of that it's all erroneous. Like I said, I've always wanted to say that it's erroneous. It's not true, or it's not fully true. What it is, an entire psychic change is a spiritual awakening, which means it's having a personality change. Means that life goes on, but I react to life differently. I'm starting to look at life through a new pair of glasses. I'm starting to look at people who are unlovable people and I'm starting to love them. That's new. That's a process of recreation. What's up with that? What's up with love and tolerance of people who are brand new sober, who are just getting sober? And I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to the disease of alcoholism, and I have awareness to see that I'm not talking to the true authentic self. I'm talking to the disease of alcohol. That is a spiritual experience. And because of this spiritual experience, it puts me in unionship with God, higher power, great pumpkin. I don't care. If you're new here, call the doorknob, whatever you need to do. Whatever you need to do to get you started, it ain't you, right? That's your journey, right? And then my experience is always growing, and I don't even know how to explain it today, right? But that is the deal in our next paragraph, which we could finish tonight. Screw it, why not? Let's go over time. Whoever wants to stay. The next paragraph shows what happens when we are in a recovered state. When we follow these few simple rules, trust God, clean house, help others. Back to you, Paige. I'm talking way too much. Pew, 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 peo,
You're
peo.
not at
In, in,
all. Pew pew.
in Spanish, pew, pew, pew is peo, 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 by the way.
Pew pew pew. Oh, and Terry, Marty, your buddy Marty, he's got a bunny rabbit step 5 story if I've ever heard one. Alrighty, so on the other hand, so what we left off was really a paragraph of hopelessness. And we always want to look at the juxtaposition, hopeless to hope, hopeless to hope. And this is going to be our paragraph of hope. So it says, on the other hand, and as strange as this may seem to those who do not understand once, a psychic change, a spiritual awakening, a spiritual experience has occurred. The very same person who seemed doomed, doomed is just another way to say hopeless, hopeless, who had so many problems he despaired of ever solving them, suddenly, I'm just going to emphasize suddenly, it does not take long to get well. It's going to take work, it's going to take action, we're going to talk about it, but suddenly, finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol. Being able to easily control his desire for alcohol, the mental obsession is removed. That's what we're talking about. And the only effort necessary, oh man, it's gonna be effort. Rude. The only effort necessary being that required to follow a few simple rules. Who likes rules? That sucks.
I thought it was suggestions, not
Yeah,
rules. What the fuck
not
is
rules.
that?
Yeah, what's that about? But you can write the 12 steps. And if you look at I put the picture of the cycle in the chat, how we get off the cycle, how we get out of the cycle, is the 12 steps to produce a spiritual awakening. Now, I'm just going to really quickly point something out. If we go across the page to the very first full paragraph on page XXVIII, we're going to see the juxtaposition, hopeless to hope. So it's the paragraph that says we believe in, so suggested a few years ago, and it's going to be the line that says these allergic types can never safely use alcohol in any form at all. And once having formed the habit and found they cannot break it, once having lost their self-confidence, their reliance upon things, humans, their problems piled up on them and become astonishingly difficult to solve. XXVIII, the problems are piling up. It's as a result of my inability to stop. It's building up, building up, building up. XXIX, the same person who seemed doomed, who had so many problems he despaired of ever solving them, suddenly finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol. So what do I need to do to get well? The 12 steps as outlined in this book to produce a spiritual awakening. Over
Yeah.
you, Gary.
Yeah, if you guys never heard Don Pritz before, Pritts, I highly recommend it. He was my great grand sponsor. His great grand sponsor was Dr. Bob. So the lineage is pretty pure with that. And his definition of doomed, if you guys want to write this down, it's pretty cool. He says, I'm walking around in a body that won't die, and I'm carrying a mind that doesn't work, and I'm still breathing. I'm doomed. So I'm walking around with a body that won't die. Look at your experience. Yeah. keep waking up. I'm carrying a mind that won't work, but I'm still breathing. Is that your experience? And it's strange as to say, like something will happen to you when you do the work. You can't explain it. You can only experience it. You go into a recovered state. I'm despairing of all my solving problems. Like suddenly is a time frame, which means now. And I'll talk about it when we get to Jim's story, Fred's story, and the carpet slipper dude, right? They all had an insane idea, and then they all made a decision slash action based on an insane idea to go drink, right? But in between that insane idea and that action to go drink is a very small space, but occupies a very, very large God, right? And that's what we're doing. We're building a relationship with now, which will separate us, right? Jim said in the story, suddenly the thought crossed my mind, right? That's an insane idea. The insane idea happens in the now, but who else is chilling there? It says on 59, there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now, right? If you're building a relationship with now, it will separate you from taking action. You're going to have an insane thought come in. It's going to happen. You're gonna have an experience where you become unrecovered. That's been my experience where I've had the insane thought come back after balking on the work. I went back into the cycle of those little cute, fluffy bunny rabbits. I almost took the drink, right? But I crawled right out of there with it following what? There's the bunny rabbits. Thanks, babe. Following what? Efforts. I'm not in charge of the outcome. I'm in charge of the effort. I'm in charge of the. I'm in the effort business. I'm in the look at your feet. What are my feet doing right now? Business. You know, am I going to detoxes institutions? Am I approaching individuals? Am I reading the big book out loud to be? Am I balking? Am I writing a fearless and moral inventory about myself? Right? Am I looking at all the things that are in my life that are objectionable? Am I giving this everything that I over to a power greater than myself? Right? Am I really willing to make amends to all the damn people on my step? Keyword is all. Paige, I don't know the definition of all, but last time I checked means all, right? We're gonna look at all when we get to the eighth step. The eighth step is probably the most underrated spiritual step that I've ever been part of, man. It is underrated. It is a powerful step. And when you create that willingness, right? Well, you can't create it. You can't self-will it your way into it. Usually it's associated with pain when you're back in the cycle of those bunny rabbits. And you're like, damn it, bunny rabbit, stop. And you start bleeding. I'm like, all right, screw it. I'm willing to do the work. Like, dude, I just talked about this before. Like this, the tragedies, the despairing wives, the little children, right? The firing line. This shit is real. This stuff is real, right? There's gonna come a time in a moment in your life where you're like, I know I have to do that, but I don't want to. It's just that small. And then all of a sudden it festers and it grows. Look at resentments. I love resentments because has the power to kill. You get power from resentments. Who likes being angry? I like that. Well, what's the deal with resentment? I like to fan resentments. I like to nurture resentments. I like to make love to resentment. I mean, I will grow it and I will nurture it, and it will completely separate me from you, and it will make me completely separate from power or a higher power. And then what's going to happen suddenly? Suddenly, that's that fast. Suddenly, the thought will cross my mind. You know, it'll be okay to. My wife has narcotics in the cabinet to help her with pain. Suddenly, the thought crossed my mind to go. Let's go hit that cabinet right now. There's drugs in my apartment right now. There's booze in my apartment right now. I have no obsession or no thought about going to use them or drink them right now. What is that of a miracle of healing? All right. What is that? I'm a miraculous demonstration. I said it. Miraculous demonstration of power of God in one's life. It's because I put the effort in. Look at your effort. Am I really doing? And I don't want to. I don't want to tilt. I know I'm going on a tangent here, but this is my experience. Is that I was so lopsided with doing so much spiritual stuff that I had no balance in my life. the family afterwards talks about balance, which I think is probably the most underrated thing that I have to demonstrate, be a demonstration and be a way of life with all areas and aspects of my life. I can't be super spiritual in an AA meeting. Can't be super spiritual as your AA speaker today. No, I have to be a demonstration of all this stuff in all my affairs. Because if I'm not, I'm going to step on some toes. I'm going to get angry. I'm going to get resentful. I'm going to be in fear, and I'm going to listen to the story in my head, and suddenly will hit my like, you know what? Let's go get drunk and high. Look at your experience. Am I ready to follow a few simple rules? These are requirements. It's going to talk about requirements on page 25, right? I thought this was suggestions, right? Paige does a great job explaining suggestions, right? To like jumping out of an airplane, right, with a parachute. I highly suggest you pull the paracord or the bunch cord, whatever it's called, right? It's like that. Our life is on the line here. That's all I got. Pew 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 pew. Pew pew pew.
Pew, pew, pew. And thank you guys so much. We're going to stop the record and we'll wrap it up with a prayer. And we'll see you here next week. Thank you guys so much for coming.